So this is about the suspect. So let's jump right over into that.
This is regarding those firefighters who were ambushed over the weekend by a shooter. 2 of them killed. We're taking a live look right now out of Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, where this happened. The latest update is that the suspect in that entire situation has been identified as Wes Rowley. That's according to a law enforcement official who spoke on condition of anonymity to the Associated Press on this Monday. The AP reported that the names of the slain and injured firefighters have not been released. A procession of fire and law enforcement vehicles accompanied the bodies of the fallen firefighters as they were taken from the hospital.
Policemen and firefighters stick together.
To the medical examiner's office in Spokane, Washington. That's a neighboring city just across the state line. I do want to bring us out to some of the video that we had from just last night, just to give you a bit of a sense of the scene there, because this did go on for some time here, but also this is the procession that we were just talking about. A little bit more of this backstory. The Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris telling reporters that firefighters first responded to a report of a brush fire on Sunday afternoon in Canfield Mountain. That's a popular hiking and biking area near the outskirts of town. But once the firefighters arrived, someone began shooting at them. The fire was set apparently to lure the firefighters into that ambush, according to the sheriff. He said, quote, "These firefighters did not have a chance." Authorities responded, locking down the neighborhoods near.
Firefighters, when they're coming to do their job, which is to put out the fire, they aren't thinking, oh, this is a trap and someone starts shooting at them. So they're not, of course they weren't prepared. Of course it was a tragic scene. That is crazy. You ambush a firefighter? What do you have against firefighters? Did someone hurt you? Or you have a grudge against one firefighter that hurt you? Or do you hate the profession? You don't believe what they do? What is the point of ambushing a firefighter unless it was grudge against one person who was in there and they just said, hey, to get suspected, you gotta hurt everybody. That is crazy. But let's keep going into the video.
Near the hiking area and searching for the shooter in the hilly terrain with thick brush and trees and smoke that were seen nearby. I do want to take us back out to that live picture just to continue to give you a sense of what that terrain looks like there. A lot of brush, and it was difficult for law enforcement agents to find and catch that suspect. In fact, at one point, they didn't know if it was just one shooter or multiple shooters. Now, the Associated Press did report that a procession of fire and law enforcement vehicles accompanied the bodies of the fallen firefighters as they were taken there to the hospital. We just lost that live picture. Let me bring you back out to some more footage from that procession as we continue to follow up on this story. And really, the breaking news at this time is that the suspect has been identified as Wes Rowley. That is according to a law enforcement official.
That is crazy. You already know. Let me see if I can find any more information on that. That is absolutely crazy. Firefighters ambush. That's all you got to put in. Let's see what it's talking about.
Learning new details.
Yeah, we're gonna go to this one, see what it's talking about.
Details about that ambush that left 2 firefighters dead in Coeur d'Alene. Police have identified the suspect, who they say intentionally set a brush fire to lure the first responders to the scene. And that's where Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman is with the latest. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning. Well, I want to give you a sense of the chaos and the terror up on that mountain during the ambush. At one point, the SWAT team decides they've got to go retrieve the bodies of those slain firefighters. They move up there in an armored car. They take fire from the suspect, and they're concerned at some point that the suspect is going to try to use his vehicle or the firefighting vehicles to get away somehow. So they decide they've got to push his vehicle off a cliff, take out the firefighting vehicles by slashing the tires, even shooting into the engine.
This is a crazy story.
Blocks. This morning, authorities working to zero in out the firefighting vehicles by slashing the tires, even shooting into the engine blocks. This morning, authorities suspect, and they're concerned at some point that the suspect is going to try to use his vehicle or the firefighting vehicles to get away somehow. So they decide they've got to push his vehicle off a cliff, take out the firefighting vehicles by slashing the tires.
Push his vehicle off the cliff, slash the tires for the fire. They are thinking of everything to get him down. So, oh my, they are thinking of everything.
Even shooting into the engine blocks. This morning, authorities working to zero in on a motive for the ambush they say this man, 20-year-old Wes Rowley, set for firefighters.
We've got 2 unresponsive battalion chiefs.
They had responded to a routine brush fire, which authorities say the suspect set to lure them into a death trap. The 2 battalion chiefs gunned down a 3rd firefighter, critically wounded. And this morning, we learned that the firefighters actually interacted with the suspect before the shooting.
Yeah, the firefighters arrived on the scene, and his vehicle was pretty close to where the firefighters parked, and they asked him to move it, and there was some back and forth, and then all of a sudden the shots were fired.
So they never had a chance?
Never had a chance.
42-year-old Battalion Chief Frank Harwood, the father of 2, served 17 years with the Kootenai Fire and Rescue Department.
Keep their family in the prayers. They were heroes serving the community. They were ambushed by a coward. That's all you can say about it. That is crazy.
And Battalion Chief John Morrison spent over 28 years with the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department. He was 52. Both could have retired, but stayed on the job.
One of the most absolute darkest days that either one of these organizations has ever faced.
Now, as they search for a motive, the sheriff telling me that at one point the suspect had hoped to be a firefighter one day. The sheriff also telling me they hope to have this fire out by tomorrow, and then it'll be a few days before they process the scene, partly because that brush fire swept through and partly because they pushed that suspect's vehicle.
That sounds like something out of Law and Order. The suspect wanted to be a firefighter, could never get approved. So now he has a hatred for firefighters and just decided to go out and kill firefighters? Yeah, nah. He needs to be in jail. That is crazy. You target people who are only trying to make the community better, save people, all because you could become one. They sensed that something was bad in you, so they already ain't let you become a firefighter. And you proved them right because you should have never been one. Because look at you. You do this. That is absolutely insane. Let's keep the families of the 2 people who were killed in our prayers. And then we're just going to keep up with what happens to this criminal, to this man who needs to be in jail for life. Crazy. All right, everybody, remember this is AC Reviews the Word. Remember to like and subscribe.